Welcome to the Habitz Podcast. On today's episode, we've got Chris Cooke from Old Street Solutions that's going to share his good habits when it comes to purchasing a business app. So thanks for joining us, Chris. So first things first, what makes you qualified to be our guest expert when it comes to purchasing business apps?
Well, I've had a few businesses and made an app about 8 months ago. It's grown huge, and we've done 500,000 revenue in that time. Really, I think most people who make business apps make it very technical, very boring, very hard to use, very hard to understand. And where we're doing really well is we're making easy to use, easy to understand apps that anyone can use and pick up, and it's clearly working.
So Chris, what are some of the bad habits that you've come across with people in your industry when they're purchasing a business app?
So the big thing I find is because it's software, they get the smartest person in the business to help with the purchase decision. Sensible, but often that doesn't take into account the end user. So if you get the CTO, right, Chief Technical Officer, software engineer in and ask his opinion, he'll just go for the one with the most features, right, the most bang for your buck, which is why everyone ends up with really bad software that no one can use. At the end of the day, if someone from HR is going to be using it as their system, it needs to be usable, and you need to get those people involved in the purchasing decision actively from day one, because if not, it's just going to be another app that people buy that no one can use, that everyone's unhappy with.
So realistically, would you be better off getting the dumbest person in the room to pick your app for you?
Yes. I mean, you joke, but that's the point, right? It needs to be idiot-proof. And let's be honest here, like, how often do you read the instruction manual when you buy something?
Yeah.
And the example I give is when we all opened email for the first time, we didn't hire an IT consultant to come in and spend 4 days teaching us how to use email. It was made by people who cared enough to make it idiot-proof, and they made it good enough that everyone could use it.
Yeah.
And we all love those things that you just pick up. First thing you do is throw the instruction manual out and start using it. And that's how good most software needs to be. And unfortunately, it's not, because at the moment it's made by nerds for nerds.
So in your business, what apps are you currently using that you find easy to use? That sort of people listening might also say, oh, we use that app. I get why that works, that's simplistic.
Yeah, the big example I always go with, have you ever used Trello?
Yeah, Chris uses Trello.
Yeah.
He's trying to get me to use it.
So you should give it a go. It is idiot-proof. Don't worry. Don't be scared. And that's the point, is that it's just very simple. It's emulating Post-it notes on a wall, right? What's to do, what's in progress, what's done.
Yeah.
And it's really valuable. You're a small business owner yourself, knowing what's being worked on, who's working on it, when it needs to be done by, and what's the blocker. And if the case is, okay, anytime there's graphic design work, there's always a bottleneck there and everything slows down, you need to know. Maybe that's who you hire. Maybe you need to kick up the ass for the person that's always delaying things. Like, it's good to have that clear visualization. And again, if it's too difficult for anyone to use, then none of that's going to be up to date. No one's going to know who's working on what. And when it comes to it, you're just going to end up shouting across the room. Yeah. Which is fine when you're a small company and you're allowed to be in the same room. But as we've seen, that's not the case for everyone. And then either you're a remote distributed team, you just want something that can give you that quick snapshot, who's working on what, where, when.
So really, I imagine with obviously COVID and the pandemic at the moment, like, these apps are essential for a business to run smoothly. So if you've got half your team that don't know how to use them,
nightmare.
Yeah.
And what's the point in a report that only half the people are filling out? It's a useless report. It's a waste of everyone's time. And that's what happens. People buy the smartest, most comprehensive, complex tool you can buy, and only one person at the company can use it. And God help anyone when he leaves. But what do you do when that guy leaves and then no one can use the reporting tool? I know people that have bought an app, and then the first thing they've had to do is then hire someone just to be able to use it. It's a waste of everyone's time. And so this is why we're doing so well at the moment. We've just made something that you pick it up. It takes a lot of work to make something easy to use. A lot of attention going into the design of every single feature and function, so that when someone looks at it, they're like, I reckon if I click that, it'll do that. Yeah. And honestly, like, I promise you right now, if you picked up my app, you'd know how to use it and what you were doing with it.
So there's some of the bad habits that businesses do when purchasing a business app. So how can they avoid this, and what are the good habits that we can learn from you?
I mean, the first thing I'd really like to see people do is make sure that it's an idiot-proof purchase. Get the dumbest person in the room, make sure they can use it. Make sure everyone can use it, make sure it's actually going to be used. And that leads on to point two, is have a proper evaluation. Like, you wouldn't buy a car without taking it for a test drive, but you'd be shocked how many people spend £50,000 a year on software just because the salesperson gave a good presentation to the CEO. So have a proper evaluation, get everyone really to have a go with it and use it for at least a month. And the main thing I'd love to recommend people do is pick up the phone and call customer support. And if they don't answer the phone, well, that tells you all you need to know. And if you think that they'll answer the phone better after they've got your money, you're in for a rude awakening. So do it during the trial.
So would you say then that during a trial, and you're saying, would you want to try that across multiple job roles in that business? So it could be customer service, it could be your admin teams. So they're all using the same software. So you've got a better idea of pain points.
Not all software's for everyone, but for most successful businesses, often the key is not having that cliff that falls off between communication. I think the big one that we can all relate to is sales and marketing. Often those are very different people, very different targets and activities and personalities. And we've all seen companies where sales and marketing aren't getting along and aren't communicating. And that blind spot causes a lot of pain. So I think for a software to be successful and successfully implemented for a business, what you're going to need is it being used by both people, both sets of people getting value out of it. There's no point the manager wants to look at a report, right? And say, is this working? What have we learned from it? And wants to look at that, get feedback and get a snapshot of how the business is doing. And if half the team aren't putting information into that report, then it's a waste of everyone's time.
So I take it your app will follow a lot of these good habits. You've made it as simple as possible. So what is it your app actually helps businesses achieve?
So our app is a very simple reporting app for Jira, Trello, project management software. And more people are using these tools, but less and less people can actually do the complex bit of pull up the report and see how it's going, what the problem is, what the priority is, what's broken, who needs to fix it. And so what we're doing is we're making something that everyone can use, because data's too important to leave to the nerds. Really, like, we can all benefit from, well, that's not going to get done in time.
Yeah.
Having that on a wallboard is really valuable information for anyone. But if you make an app that only a software engineer can use, unfortunately, you're going to miss out. And so we've made something that's just really simple, literally drag and drop, click and play, it goes. And because of that, people are using it. They don't need a consultant to come in and install it. They don't need to read the training manual. They just turn it on, understand it, make what they need to see a good report. Oh no, look, we're ahead of schedule. Awesome, we've got some more time. Let's work on something extra. Or, oh God, that person hasn't done any work this week. What's that about? What's going on there? So we've just made something that fits into this, that everyone can use. And because of that, lots of people are using it. And so sales are through the roof. It's been amazing.
So what type of size businesses are using it? Is this for mainly big businesses, 50 plus? Is it small businesses, SMEs? What's your kind of ideal client?
I mean, yeah, ideally the people with the most money, but let's be honest. We've done good sales recently with some big companies. NASA just bought our app, which is super cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's not rocket science, but it's useful for rocket scientists, clearly. Yeah, I think anyone that's managing a project and wants to make a report, and really, if you look, like, the report needs to be visible between us, right? It's good to show with the other departments what you're working on and share your wins and successes. And at the end of the day, often you have to show it to senior management, right? The CEO, this is what we did, this is what's working, this is why we need a new hire because we're falling behind here, here, and here. Yeah. And so, yeah, reporting's useful for everyone, but we have found that the big companies who can no longer rely on going in a room, shouting at each other, writing it on a whiteboard, have really picked this up because it's very useful to have a quick snapshot of who's working on what and how's it going.
So thanks very much for coming on today, Chris, and sharing some of your good habits. Where can people find you if they do want to find out more about your app?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, or oldstreetsolutions.com.
Remember, if you've got any good habits when it comes to purchasing business apps, don't forget to let us know in the usual places and join us next time for some more good habits that you can implement to improve your business.